best on the team. Blue faces busting out the scene. New life is something like a dream. Back out fresh on the scene. Franchise best on the team. Blue faces busting out the scene. New life is something like a dream.
All right, you heard the bombshell from this morning. Let me catch you up on the rest of Kelsey's testimony. They asked her, how are you feeling? She said, I don't want to be here. They asked her, what's triggering you? She said, quote, lies from Megan. She was asked, what lies? That I betrayed her, that I am a bad friend, that I took hush money. She was asked, how do you feel about the allegation that you shot Megan? She said, that's ridiculous. She was asked, how did you meet Tory Lanez? Me and Meg both met him at the same time at a Rock Nation brunch. She continued that after they met, Meg wanted to hook Tory up with Kelsey, that did happen, that Kelsey and Tory were engaged in an intimate relationship, that Kelsey got COVID, went back to Texas, and during the time she was back at Texas, having left LA, Tory and Meg started getting it on. They talked about the night of the incident. They got to Kylie Jenner's house around 3 to 4 p.m. She was a great witness, by the way. She answered everything extremely knowledgeably, extremely truthfully. I believe every word she said. She never seemed like she was trying to hide something, except when she pled the fifth, of course. Now, she's clarified this was not a party. Those were just people hanging out. There was maybe 5 or 6 people before Tory got there. There was a lot of alcohol. She said at one point she did pass out. When she woke up, Tory was there. They were all in the pool. They were having fun. She confirmed a lot of the speculation. Tory was hooking up or trying to hook up, flirting with Kylie in the pool. Meg was very agitated, trying to leave with Tory. Tory did not want to leave. She contradicted Meg's testimony. Meg said, oh, I don't remember ever leaving once and then coming back. Kelsey testified they all got in the car. They left without Tory. As they were going, Meg is rambling, being just weird, and then says, oh, I forgot my slipper. Let's go back. They all go back to get her slipper. Then they grab Tory. Kelsey didn't go in at that point when they went back, but when they came out, Meg came out with Tory, and Meg said to Kelsey, bitch, Kylie told us it's time for us to go. Tory drops the bombshell that he had been hooking up with Meg. Kelsey did not know this. The first time she learned this is in that car. That's when the argument ensues. That's when just lots of arguing is going back and forth. The prosecutor really tried to pin it down and make it look like the argument was only between Tory and Meg, and Kelsey was adamant that nah, everybody was arguing with each other. It was a mess. She confirmed that Meg was dissing Tory's career, his skills as an artist. This stuff all crescendoed. The prosecutors asked her about, was there ever a threat made by Tory to shoot? She said yes. Prosecutor asked her, what's the context? She said, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. You can only invoke your fifth if the testimony that you are compelled to give will incriminate you, meaning that the context around the threat, if Meg will not tell us, if Kelsey tells us, it would incriminate her. And it gets crazier. We are on a 15-minute break. Got to get back into the courtroom very quickly. I sat at 12 o'clock directly in Kelsey's line of vision. I watched her testify. I watched her deny that Tory threatened to shoot her. I watched her confess that she lied to the police when she said that. The reason why she was lying to the police, the investigators, is because she wanted to protect herself. OMG. The rest of the testimony that we just saw in the after lunch session was a prosecutor holding on for dear life to a recording between her, a police investigator, and another LA County prosecutor, and Kelsey, and just replaying that recording and saying, Kelsey, didn't you say this? And Kelsey saying, I did. Kelsey, is that true? And Kelsey saying, no, I lied. Did the LA County prosecutors give Kelsey immunity? I think so. They did, didn't they? That's what I reported this morning. That's what I saw in this courtroom. Does Kelsey sound like a believable witness? No. Is Tory Lanez accusing her of being the shooter? Yes. I'll tell you something. That jury, most of them, it looked like they had their mind made up. I don't know which way, but they saw that person say that I lied about all that to protect myself. They're going to hear that there was gunshot residue on her. We are done. Kelsey is not done. She will be back tomorrow for another day of testimony. In fact, the opening direct examination by the prosecution of Kelsey started in the morning. It's still not finished. It's going to continue to tomorrow, and then we'll get cross-examination. Let me catch you up on what happened Kelsey testified that everything that she had told prosecutors and investigators before, suggesting that Tory had shot at Meg, was a lie. That she did it, why? To protect herself. Why was she protecting herself? She didn't want to incriminate herself. And then there was this back and forth exchange that just kept going on. They were saying the same thing to each other. I don't know why the judge allowed it. The prosecutor's like, why? She's like, to protect myself. Why? To protect yourself from what? And she just kept saying, to protect myself. Finally, they moved on. Prosecutor's story basically comes down to this. They're introducing evidence that Kelsey seems to deny, but then doesn't seem to deny, as far as Tory making offers to say, hey, I'll give you this money when they're in the car and the police are coming up behind them and there's a helicopter overhead. Tory's like, yeah, I'll give you $1 million. Don't say anything. And she's like, I didn't take that. I didn't know what he was talking about. And then there's another meeting that happens later on between Tory and her. And she says, I didn't take any money. But she, at the same time, doesn't deny that offers were made. The other part that prosecutors are using and hanging their hat on are messages after the shooting where Kelsey is communicating with other people, including a key text message where Kelsey says, Tory shot Meg. That was sent to Meg's security guard. For the cross-examination, what I'm looking and expecting for the defense to do is basically pin Kelsey as the shooter. They're going to start with the gunshot residue. They're going to say she's got gunshot residue on her. And then they're going to start pointing out to all, and there are so many, I don't even think you can cover them all, of the inconsistencies in the stories between Meg and Kelsey. One of the biggest inconsistencies that I can't make any sense of is Meg says that she was out of the car alone. Kelsey says, no, we were both out of the car. She said that today in court. We were both out of the car when the shots happened. Kelsey vehemently denied that she saw any type of shooting, and she kind of kept saying that there were just gunshots that went off. She did not admit how. I think a juror is going to go one of two ways. A juror is going to look at this and say she's been paid off, she's lying for Tory, Tory's a criminal mastermind, guilty. I think a juror might look at it and say she's trying to protect herself from incriminating herself about being involved in this shooting. And so she's lying, and maybe she's the shooter, and that's enough for me to say reasonable doubt the prosecution hasn't met their burden. We shall see. This case is not ending anytime soon. Stay tuned. So it's a crazy day. Day starts. Kelsey says, I'm not going to testify. When Kelsey says, I'm not going to testify, the prosecutor responds by saying, I will give you use immunity, which means that if you agree to testify, I will not use any of your testimony against you. Now, the reason why Kelsey can say that I won't testify is she has the right to invoke the Fifth Amendment. You can only invoke the Fifth Amendment. You can't just say, I invoke the Fifth because I don't want to talk to police. No. You can only invoke the Fifth if you're being compelled to testify. In this case, she's being forced to testify, and the testimony that she's going to give is self-incriminating. So, the second she walks into court and says that I invoke the Fifth, I can't testify, that tells you that she did something that night that would incriminate herself. Separately, she invoked the Fifth specifically in reference to the question, what was the context of the comment Tory made that I'll shoot? Now, it seemed that she denied that that comment was also made, but more importantly, it seemed that she was saying that I invoked the Fifth. I can't tell you what happened around the timing of that because I would incriminate myself. That is a big win for the defense, but this is not just a mollywop victory for the defense. There's a lot going on here. So, okay, they invoke the Fifth. She gets the immunity. She's now testifying, and she runs back all of these statements that she's made to prosecutors, and she says, oh, hey, you said Tory popped out, had the gun up, and was shooting at y'all? No, that was a lie. Oh, you said Tory reached into the gun to get the console? No, that was a lie. So she admits that all that stuff is a lie. Okay, then we get to the prosecutor stuff. And these are major feathers in the cap of the prosecutor. And that is two pieces of evidence. One, the concept that there was money being offered. Now, what was it being offered for? There's a lot of room to play there. First off, the biggest thing here is that Kelsey denies that she took any money. She said, I didn't take any money. I'm not testifying here because I've been paid to testify. I'm not being silenced. I've been paid to testify. That goes a long way. She does, however, acknowledge that offers may have been made. So the prosecutor's whole point is that she's doing all this shit because she's getting paid. Kelsey's whole point is that I deny. So question back to Kelsey, why are you not talking? What's going on here? What is it that you're afraid of saying? we don't get that answer. She just keeps saying, to protect myself. So there's the money angle, which goes against Kelsey, and then there's the text message. Text messages from Kelsey to a security guard. It says, Tory shot Meg. How do you explain that message? Well, if your theory is that Kelsey is a big ass liar, Kelsey was involved in this shooting, and from the jump is just saying whatever she can possibly say whenever she can say it to avoid putting the burden on her, and you couple that with the fact that Meg has never spoken to Kelsey. They're not talking. They had a complete falling out. The prosecutor asked Kelsey, hey, why aren't you and Meg talking? And Kelsey said, I don't know. Look, there's so much going on. There is just so much going on. And, you know, my big takeaway is this is not a case about Meg versus Tory. This is not a case about who's right, who's wrong. It's not a case about who's lying, who's telling the truth. This is a case about reasonable doubt. Prosecutors believe that a man got out of a car, pulled a gun, and shot 5 times at a woman. I would ask those prosecutors, do you really believe that? And if you do, why haven't you charged attempted murder? What they probably know is that there's more to this story. It doesn't fit a clean narrative to dunk on Tory, so they're not telling us more of this story. And now they've given Kelsey immunity. They told her, this is interesting. We're going to need, to keep this open, and we'll see how this plays out in the future. But let me tell you how the immunity played out, because this is very interesting. So she comes into court. She says, I'm not going to testify. Okay. Now they say, well, we'll give you use immunity. Anything you say won't be used against you. And then her lawyer comes back and says, that's not good enough. I want something called transactional immunity, that you cannot charge me for anything that came out of this circumstance, that night, that incident. You are giving me immunity that you will never charge me for anything that happened that night. They said, we can't do that. But they went on the record and told the judge on the record that we will not charge Kelsey with any crimes, that we have no intention, we will not charge Kelsey with any crimes of what happened that night. What does all that mean? As a practical matter, there's no way you'll ever have the evidence to charge Kelsey. And she's been given both use immunity, so her words can't be used against her, and she's been given a statement on the record from prosecutors that she will not be charged for anything that came out of this incident. That's crazy that they would do that. If there's a possibility that this person is lying all over the place, if you didn't investigate her for DNA, if you didn't investigate her for fingerprints, you didn't arrest her that night, you didn't interrogate her that night, and then you gave her immunity later on, that's crazy to me. And so all that, when you tell all of that to a jury, and now you tell them that, okay, well, we want you to lock this man up for 22 years. They're not going to tell him the time that he's facing, but we want you to hit him with, felony assault with a semi-automatic firearm because he had intent to harm this woman when he pulled a gun and shot at her. Man, I got to think that 1 out of 12 jurors, or it might be 14, is going to say, that doesn't add up to me. I'm not ready to convict somebody in a case like this. It's too messy.
Hey, so watching or even listening to even your reports, and it seemed very like bombshells were being dropped. Did the prosecutors have any idea that Kelsey, because Kelsey went against, she basically said, whatever I told you guys, complete cap.
Yes, that's what she said, and they had no idea. And I'll tell you another interesting dynamic of how that played out. So they had no idea. and she was struggling. The prosecutor was really struggling because prosecutors don't expect that, and they're not ready for that, and it doesn't happen all the time, and she was just not ready for it. But the judge bailed out the prosecutor because the judge didn't like it. The judge saw that here's a person who's recanting everything they told to an investigator. And so the prosecutor basically would just keep asking the same questions all over again. She would cover a topic, and then she would go back to that topic because she couldn't deal with Kelsey's recanting and telling her that everything was a lie. And so the prosecutor got really off guard, but the judge saved the prosecutor, and the judge gave the prosecutor a lot of leeway to repeat questions, to re-ask questions, to ask questions in ways that I think a normal witness would not have to answer. But because the judge did not like this witness either, basically saying that, hey, I'm a big fat liar, I've been lying to you guys all along, the judge let the prosecutor go. It went on for so long. I mean, you're talking about Kelsey started testifying in the morning. she's not even done with the direct examination by the prosecutor. So tomorrow she'll go back. The prosecutors will continue questioning her, and then we'll get cross-examination. Oh, Lord.
Wow. So as I was kind of seeing this go down, I said to myself, I'm wondering, and by the way, now I'm in the realms of just theories, because at the end
We're
of the
all
day,
in the deep end, bro. We are like deep. Like this is like deep at this point.
I'm wondering if Tory's attorney or Tory's defense, like his whole team, had any idea this was going to happen. Because in my opinion, if she did what she was supposed to do, she was supposed to put Tory in a position where I speculated Tory has to take the stand. I think after this, I'm like, don't take the stand, because you haven't even got to cross yet, and she's basically fucked up everything the prosecutor got going on direct. This is amazing. She's working for the defense.
No, that's your read on that is very right, but it can go either way. You're absolutely right that after Kelsey kind of shits on everything and just confuses everything up, you could kind of just maybe leave it at that. But I don't think so. Not with the statements of him offering money, not with the text message. I think he's going to take the stand. I think that's going to be crazy.
Hey, let me also ask you. So, even watching that whole thing, and I'm wondering if is because she doesn't have that transactional immunity. How prepped do you think her lawyer, had her to? Hey, listen, you can say these things, but not these things.
I don't know. I mean, look, all I could say is this. With or without transactional immunity, I feel like, and I'm not a California attorney would have to give anybody advice on what is the value of a prosecutor going on the record and stating that we're never going to charge her for this, or we have no intention to charge her. But in my mind, I feel like she went up there testifying with complete faith that nobody is going to charge her with this. Despite that, she had a lot of trouble testifying. I mean, when I tell you, I can't even. I used to do high school debate, and I'm a lawyer now, and my greatest skill is seeing a bunch of information unfold in front of me and then saying that to somebody in a digestible format. I can't even begin to try to digest for you the testimony from Kelsey today. It was fucking everywhere, and the prosecutor was so shocked and so confused by what was coming out. She was everywhere. And so the whole shit is just a fucking mess. I think because of that, you probably need Tory to come in and say their alternative theory and hear from him in his words what went down that night. If you don't hear from him, that's too risky, bro. Listen, I'm no criminal defense attorney. I'm no trial lawyer, but I'm a human being. I've been in that courtroom all day. If I were a juror, I'd want to hear from Tory.
I'm back out fresh on the scene. Franchise best on the team. Blue faces busting out the scene. New life is something like a dream.